All right. Welcome back. It's Reality Lives with the Ives. I'm Katie.
And I'm Will.
It's been a minute, but we are back. Lots to discuss. Again, we've been out of town, traveling, doing all the things, but we're back. We're excited. We're ready. So here's what we're getting into today. Wrapping up Love is Blind. We have some wedding talk. Of course, the reunion. And then...
Oh, boy.
Highly requested from the people in our lives. We're getting into the Golden Bachelor, y'all. It is a blessing, a gift, an honor to be able to watch this and discuss it. So we're going to get into the Golden Bachelor, maybe end with some predictions for who we think is stealing Gary Turner's heart. Fucking precious gem of a man. And yeah, we're just going to kind of mix it up, get into two shows that everyone's talking about right now, and pay adieu to Love is Blind while entering a really new, exciting chapter of The Golden Bachelor.
Couldn't agree more. Such a good show. And I was really trying to think of some sort of theme song from some show or movie about...
You're so golden.
What is that?
Sal song.
Oh.
You're so golden.
Yeah, that's not as good.
I
I was more thinking like Austin Powers Gold Member. That's what I was hoping for. Like, there's got to be some really good gold-based theme song.
Golden
I'm pretty sure when they're in the studio, like he goes back in time and he meets Goldmember for the first time, and he meets Foxy Cleopatra or Foxy
Cleopatra.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Halle Berry, right?
There was some sort of good song.
Was Halle
yeah.
Berry?
No, that was
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
that was Beyonce?
I don't believe we've met.
It's me, Foxy Cleopatra.
You are so right. I am a disgrace to pop culture. You're so right.
I'm the pop culture loser, like the jester.
I thought you
know
were just
nothing.
about to say you're like the pop culture king.
No,
I was going to
no.
annihilate you.
If the king is up here, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole of pop culture. I think I'm almost funny in my ironic sense of knowing nothing at all, whereas you actually know things and you're
Feels
funny
like
because of
I'm
it.
wearing nothing at all.
Nothing at all. Nothing
Real
at
ones
all.
know that.
Oh, Ned.
But yeah, I'm like, real ones know, and then you tell him.
I said a name.
I know.
I didn't say a show.
It's a telling
There's still
name.
some mystery. For the
One
real
more?
ones, it is. Real ones know that name. Boom. Circled back. Let's go.
We're already all over the place. But fair warning, getting into the end of Love is Blind, we didn't really discuss episodes 8 and 9, which were the weddings, I believe, and then the reunion. Probably going to jump all over the place, but let's get into that before we get into Golden Bachelor, because I know we're really excited to talk about it.
I'm going to jump in.
Gary's
Golden hour.
There we go. That's a better one. Yeah,
but yeah,
so
Love is Blind weddings.
Before we even just touch on the wedding specifically, no, still Love is Blind.
Yes.
Can we just talk about how disappointing this season is based on how it started? If you go back to our first video talking about this,
Man, we were hyped.
we were
naive as fuck.
best season ever. Oh my God, game changer.
I don't know that we said best season ever, but
No,
we were
but-
like, wow, this is starting with a bang. We're excited.
We said some things probably. I don't know, but
We
we
say a lot of
definitely
things.
hyped up this episode. Yeah.
I also have to say, Lydia, I'm sorry. I came so hard for you. And let's be real. There's some truth to, all the babble. But I've totally flipped 180 on my Lydia take. Let's get into it.
Okay, well, all right. I guess I didn't get to finish my rant on it being a disappointing season.
When we
but-
talk about the wedding, you can still talk
okay,
about things.
yeah. Well, I will say,
Jesus. Wants
Oh,
us
man.
to do a whole intro and then doesn't fucking stop. Trying
classic.
to have some order here. Sue me. But go
Can't help it.
ahead.
Going down the rabbit holes.
Yep. Go ahead.
But all right, we can talk about Lydia and Milton, and then we can talk about Lydia as part of that. So there was only 2 weddings, right? Which felt like a ripoff It was
Sucks
pretty
ass.
disappointing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we like to make bets on everything and anything. And my sister happened to be in town
Yeah.
while we're watching this.
Yep.
Shout out Madeline. Stellar Ives. So, way to be, Madeline. Yeah, there's only 2 weddings to make guesses or bets on, and we had a good feeling
Lame.
where it was going. I will give Madeline a shout out that she was the only one to guess both the weddings totally correctly. We were wrong with the first one.
Yeah.
She-
Stacy bamboozled us.
Yeah, so, but we're going to start with Lydia because we already talked about her anyways. So, Lydia Milton.
Goats.
Yeah, I
Of
will
the
say.
season. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Who would have thought?
you really fall more in love with them. And I think it really does show, and this is, me diving into kind of like the matchmaking
Get into it.
theories
That's all
and
right.
thoughts that I have about people's
Give it to us.
personalities and
Give us the
whatnot,
juice.
right? But here's the thing. There's a key for every hole. Round pegs don't fit into square holes, whatever, phrase you want to say,
You
right?
hate
But
mine, but there's a lid for every pot.
yeah, I hate that one because realistically, you can make lids out of a billion things for pots.
But there is one matching lid that goes with every pot.
But I could use tinfoil to put a lid in a pot. So,
That's not as secure. It doesn't hit the same.
all right, we're not going to go into a rabbit hole of what constitutes as a lid or not, but
Well, you started it, in all fairness.
And I'm stopping
I say
it.
something.
And I'm stopping it.
There's a peg in every hole. Like, that is so dumb compared to mine.
okay, that's one, that's not what I said, and 2, that sounded really sexual.
No,
But-
exactly.
Cool.
Lid and pot.
Anywho's,
awesome.
but what the rant I was going to go on is that Lydia is obviously a strong, big personality. And for Uche specifically, she probably did seem like a little out there, a little hectic, a little messy, a little whatever you want to call it, right? And that's not necessarily untrue, but for the right person, aka Milton, that's what she needs to be, right? Like, you look at both of
Balance,
us,
baby.
we love each other to death.
So much.
But I could find thousands of girls that would say, I'm crazy, I'm too difficult to deal with, I'm annoying, whatever. And I could find hundreds of thousands of guys that could say the same thing about Katie, right? But for us, it's perfect, right? We balance each other.
Playing a dangerous game over here.
Yeah.
Like, excuse
Reminds me of playing with fire in high school with Coverly. Dangerous games. But here's the point, though, right?
You gotta
she
stop
seems-
talking about shit no one knows.
So the point, though, is, right, she does seem to the viewers like a bit of a, nut
Handful.
job, right, in the beginning of the season.
job. Wow.
But as things go on,
canon.
you start to realize Uche really is just a really strong communicator, and he's able to convince us and other people of these problems that she has, when in reality, it's not necessarily problems that she has, it's problems that he has with her and who she is and their relationship. But he tries to push all of that on the rest of us to say, just because of the experiences we had and the way that we don't mesh, this is her problem that everyone needs to know about, when in reality, it was their problem that he's just trying to put the onus on her, rather than being willing to accept, I have my own problems, I have my own flaws, our challenges weren't you,
Half
it was
and
us
half, baby.
together.
Yep.
Exactly, that's how it works, but
Yeah.
he's not willing to accept that because he also is a bit arrogant and egotistical, as we'll get to in the reunion. But yeah, so I just want to start there. I wanted to give Lydia some credit, like you said, because she does grow in us a lot, I
Yes.
feel like. And even though she is a lot to handle, she's kind of the a lot to handle that Milton needs.
Yeah.
Because
for the right person, it's not too much to handle.
no,
It's what they need, and it's the perfect
exactly.
balance.
Exactly.
I just have to say, everyone thought Lydia is the villain of the season. Uche is the villain of the season. You said he has, what did you say, a lot of strong opinions? Or
He's got
what-
strong communication.
Just because he has strong communication doesn't mean it's healthy, productive,
Agreed.
good, quote unquote,
Agreed.
communication. I just have to clarify that because I feel like you almost sound like you're applauding him. Uche, I
Psychopaths
don't
can talk
think-
well.
No, I don't think he's like a horrible to his core human. I think
No.
that he really believes everything that he says
Yeah.
and thinks he's right. I can relate to that, although I am usually right. Difference there.
He takes
But
no ownership though.
He's like typical guy on a high horse. And I just want to say, oh, that bitch is crazy. Tell me one man who doesn't have an ex that he talks about in that way. Women do it too. Our exes are all crazy. Are they crazy or were they just not a right fit for us? I love how Milton fucking king. Youngest man
Oh
of the
my God.
season, youngest
King.
person possibly of the season, probably the most mature, level-headed, woke man of the season, man or woman. Let's get that straight.
Yeah.
This dude, ugh. I mean, your sister was like, wow, I would date Milton. And spoiler
My
alert,
sister?
his sister is the catch of a century. She's a fucking model queen. Like, she's
Oh my God.
stunning, hardworking, the biggest catch in the world. So for her to say that is what everyone's thinking.
Hey, Milton.
Really,
If things don't work out,
oh my God, I would give anything.
she's just out there. She's
Come
tall.
on, Milton.
She's almost 6
We
feet.
need ya.
She'll never claim it or admit it, but as a
Wow.
tall man,
Yeah, putting her on blast. She absolutely hates that, but
she's
gonna throw it out
5'11".
there.
She's 5'11".
I'm a 5'10", 5'11 gal. She's significantly taller than me.
The best always are.
She's going to love this. But
Significant.
anyways,
Wow.
this man goes on a huge fucking rant and can't let me talk for 5 seconds. Moving on. So the weddings. This is what I'm talking
I'm the
about.
worst, right?
This is just...
But so let's talk their wedding.
Yes, so only 2 weddings, not super exciting, but there was some excitement and unknown there because it was actually hard to tell what was going to go down with both couples. I think everyone thought Izzy and Stacy were like super secure, very similar. That was on lock. I think we both thought they were both saying yes, correct? Your sister disagreed. Spoiler alert, she was right.
Smart woman.
Milton and Lydia was also a wild card. I mean, we all knew Lydia is going to say yes.
Oh, yeah.
But Milton keeps it close to the chest. He's super woke, super wise, a king. But it could have gone either way, I think, with him.
I mean, his sister was
Not
doing
into it.
doing her
yeah.
best to plant as many seeds of doubt as possible.
Let's be real. Milton's family, different vibe. Let's get that straight. Not saying it's a bad vibe, but some families just don't open up and dig as deep as some others do. For us, for instance, we're super close with our family. We tell our parents almost everything, if not everything. My mom is like my diary. You know what I mean? So we have that close, deep relationship. You can tell Milton has never had that with his parents or his sister. So he's kind of like, love you guys, but this is some surface level shit. This is my new family. I'm going to start a family with this woman. I don't give a fuck what you guys say because you probably don't even really know me. And that's harsh, but I think that's where he was coming from a little bit. He's like, I've gotten this far. I'm a man. I know what I want. I'm really smart, blah, bitty, blue, bitty. You guys can say what you want to say, but I don't really give a fuck. And I almost think, as mature as he seems, it was a little petty, a little defiant, like, oh, my family doesn't want me to do this. I'm going to do it more. You know what I mean? But I think regardless, he wanted to do it on his own.
I totally agree. He has a lot of the mentality that I had, that I still have a little bit.
Defiant.
Well, where you just think you're smarter than everyone you know.
He had 1,000%. You guys are actually really similar. And you
So-
are so smart. And you are right and smarter than most people we know.
Well-
I'm just going to say it. But
Well, yeah, when life
It's an it almost
confirms
is a
your
little
bias,
arrogant.
it is.
Yeah.
It is right.
comes
And
off arrogant. Yeah,
I'm still arrogant. I'll admit.
sure
I'm
is.
less arrogant now than I was, or interesting. I'm just arrogant in different ways. Maybe
That's so
I don't know.
interesting because no, you're not. The older and wiser and more powerful you get, it's like
Well, it's like now.
those who know.
I used to be arrogant in the sense of thinking I was smarter than everyone in terms of like.
That was naive arrogance. Now you're more mature and woke, and you feel justified in your arrogance because you've worked really hard, and you know what
yeah.
I mean.
Well, I'm like arrogant
It's
in like
normal.
my emotional intelligence now, whereas before I was arrogant in like my book smarts and stuff that realistically isn't as important, especially
Yeah.
with AI and all that stuff. But yes, so I get where he comes from, right? Like whenever you have anybody that challenges that, there's this thing in the back of your head that says, no, screw you. I'm going to show you that I'm smarter and know better than
Exactly.
you
You wanna
by doing
prove
what you
it.
tell me
Yeah.
not to do and showing you that it's going to work out because guess what? I do know better. That's why I'm smarter. And so he has that. But also, I think what was really interesting and a really cool moment of vulnerability was during that conversation with his sister before the wedding when she did put kind of some doubt in his head. He was saying that what Lydia has with her family, he wishes he had.
Yeah,
And
that closeness.
He
Yeah.
kind of challenged his sister on the problems that their family has because I think prior to the show, they probably didn't look at their family and say, "Oh,
Well, they're
we have issues."
intellectuals.
Yeah,
you know,
they're
they're on a
all-
little bit of a high horse.
They seem
which is
wildly
okay.
successful as a
Yeah.
family, like wildly successful, very smart, very put together, just killing it in a lot of aspects.
And they think like, oh, we're successful and smart. That's all we need. But they're missing that like emotional
Exactly.
connection.
The
Yeah.
vulnerability does not exist. And it's a problem, especially for men in the world, but for women too.
Yeah.
And however you define your gender, all that stuff. But all right, so
Yeah, this is too
anywho,
much.
so we lead into the wedding and we think, are they going to? We know Lydia will. We know Milton won't. They get up there and what do?
They do the damn thing.
They do the damn
And there
thing.
was a minute where you were like, is Milton going to get that cold feet? Like, is that click going to happen where he's like, this is crazy. What am I doing? Was he going to let the logical, like, oh, wow, this is crazy. This is too fast part of his brain override like the defiant, like passionate side?
Yeah.
And I just want to say one thing that I thought was good for Lydia is she is the only person this season, I should say, which there's only 2 weddings, so that's not saying a lot. But one thing I always say the morning of these weddings is it really sucks that people can enjoy the morning of their wedding like everybody else gets to.
Yeah.
The fact that you're stressed while you're getting ready and all dolled up to get in your wedding dress, wondering if the person's going to say yes or no, that sucks. That's taking away like a
God.
really special moment that most people wait for their whole lives. But Lydia, I feel, didn't sweat it for a second, was super confident. She was like having that happy, emotional, loving morning with her family and her friends. And I thought that was
Yeah.
really nice to see because I think most people are really on edge and don't get to enjoy that moment. You know what I mean? So that was nice. But like you said, wedding happens. Everyone, I think everyone saw it coming. But again, there was a chance where Milton was going to throw a wrench in everything and it would have been understandable. But we love a stable king riding for his kooky queen. They did the damn thing. And I will say even Milton's family in the crowd looked really happy. When they kissed and they did the whole thing, everyone looked really happy and excited. So that was nice. I think, you know, once he made it concrete, like this isn't going anywhere, they can accept it. And they're like, okay, time to accept it and play ball here. So that was nice to see. It seems like, and not to jump ahead, but from the reunion standpoint, it seems like they've all come around and really like her and appreciate that side, that emotional side that she's bringing out in the rest of their family. So that's really cool.
I
Not
feel
to
like
jump ahead too
I
much.
feel like his parents are really logical. So when they
Yes.
looked at it, and this is oversimplifying, right?
Looking at the data.
But
This is
they
crazy.
hit 2 out of 3 things, which I think was good enough for his parents. They thought probably, okay, she does balance him really well. She pulls out his emotional side. She's a good balance for him. He's clearly in love with her. I think the third thing they didn't have was just time together and
They just didn't
like,
know her.
proof of concept, right? Where it's
Anybody would be scared of some stranger
Well, yeah.
coming in trying to marry their kid. We would lose our minds.
no, 100%.
You
But I
know?
think they saw that, all right, those 2 things exist. This third thing isn't important enough to derail the other 2. So I think they did support it. And
I think ultimately he's a man, doesn't live in their house. He's going to do what he wants to do, and they can either support that and strengthen their whole family's relationship, or they can keep coming down on it and separate themselves, and they don't want that. That's their son. It seems like they have a smaller family.
Yeah.
and that means something. So that was good.
so they get married.
Yes.
It
Love
happens.
it.
It was awesome. It was great.
We loved it. I probably cried. It was great. I have totally changed my mind about Lydia. Obviously, some of the things she did in the pods, I'm never going to agree with, but she's human. She makes mistakes. Seeing their relationship flourish, it was beautiful. I really like them. I hope it lasts. Wishing them the best.
Agreed.
But let's change gears. We need
Oh
to
man.
more quickly discuss Izzy and Stacy.
Oh,
They
Stacey.
have had a journey. Right out the gate, the sexual chemistry was like on fire. That was undeniable. I think their chemistry was there.
Although Stacey still talks shit about it to him.
Yeah, but there was. What do you mean?
Remember the mini golf? I wish she would just like, grab me and bend me over, and she like literally said things like
Yes.
that. when they've
But
been together
in
for, like, a
Izzy's
month.
defense, he's like, you're not really making a safe space for me to take risks and do stuff like that because everything he does, he feels not good enough.
And he's a passionate lover,
Yeah, he
clearly. He's not
absolutely-
like I see you as
for
a
the
body
right
to take
person-
advantage of. I see you as a person I want to be with,
Sure. And for the right person, he's going to naturally do that kind of stuff. But when it's forced, like it shouldn't be a forced kind of thing to want to grab and kiss your partner. Like it should just be in the moment. And I think she's not crazy or wrong to want to feel swept up and loved and wanted. Everybody wants that, but
I don't think that's it.
you can't.
I think she wanted dirtier, like harsher sexual engagements, and I think
Smack me
I
around,
think
baby.
the realistic thing, and I don't want to assume.
She's usually
I think
with older
she's
guys.
used to guys not appreciating or
Yes.
respecting her as a
Yeah.
human, and just like, appreciating her physically, right? And I think she's used to that kind of love language, and so it's weird to have a guy be like emotionally and sexually charged with her versus just sexually, and she probably has her own hang-ups about like weird things because of her own past around it. So just a guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's said it several times. She usually dates older rich men. Not old as hell, but older than her, probably 40s kind of vibes, upper 30s rich men.
Yeah.
Maybe 40s. And so to see, she came down on Izzy a lot, making him feel inadequate, not enough for finances, things like that. When in reality, hot take, Izzy is actually more her equal than any person she's ever been with, and that's bothering her.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it. She comes from a rich dad, rich family, found out on a podcast she is an operations manager for her dad's company. So that's how she's getting her dough. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. If either of our families had a business, you better believe we'd be jumping on those coattails, but making a name for ourselves in that bit. If your dad had a huge business and wanted you to
My
take
dad
over it and shit.
literally owned part of a marketing company, and I was never going to work for it.
Anyways, Stacy is looking for this upper echelon kind of man who's going to swoop in, take care of her, throw her around, big, masculine god of a man who's also rich and amazing. All I'm going to say, until you are the best version of yourself, I don't think you should require such a top tier man.
Ooh.
Izzy would have loved and supported this bitch, rich, poor, happy, sad. I think she lost a real one. And I don't think Izzy's perfect. The way he railed into Johnny, fuck you, Izzy. That was uncalled for.
Yeah.
Toxic. But have we all had ugly moments where we're heated in the moment? Absolutely. I think Izzy's a good guy with a big heart and would have rode till the end of time for Stacy. And honestly, not a Stacy fan. She switched places with Lydia with me.
Was never a Stacey fan.
No, I don't think we ever were. Again, I don't think she's a monster for wanting what she wants. But we always tell our friends this. You need to see potential in someone. Izzy is a really sweet, loving guy.
Yeah.
When he's in the right relationship with someone who lifts him up instead of shitting on him all the time, he'd probably rise to the occasion, work harder, and get his shit together sooner.
Yeah.
Izzy's not going to be some loser forever. He had started a new career, I think, recently, right before going on the show. We don't know what's going to happen with that.
Izzy.
But he needs a supportive partner, not some fucking daddy's little girl who's shitting on him every 5 seconds.
By the way, Izzy, I know you're not listening, but if you ever do, get out of
he's
insurance
listening.
sales
No.
and get into tech sales, dude. Like,
Dude,
what
crush.
are you doing? This is not the industry to be in, my guy.
Well, now he's going to be an influencer, so. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Not really.
But you're right. Like, Izzy is just an extremely emotional and fairly damaged individual.
Yeah.
And a lot of his outbursts and his angers and the shitty things that he does, especially at that party, like you just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
it is an ugly side of him, but I think you can
human.
derive that ugliness from his own pain, his own challenges.
Yeah.
Whereas like we talk about the flip side of that, right? You know, with Stacy, I think it's different things, right? Like Izzy's had a rough upbringing. I mean, you hear about in the pods, he's gone through some wild shit.
He was a Jehovah's Witness.
He like
No birthdays, no
pretty
happiness.
I'm pretty sure he grew up and found out after he was like a young adult that his dad was not actually his dad. Remember that?
Was that him? And is this that show? I don't know if that's correct.
Oh, this is
at all.
1000%
I have
Love
to
is
look
Blind.
that up.
I would bet $50 to her right now
No, I'm not.
that
like,
Izzy
what?
found out
I'm just unsure.
as
I'm
a
not
young
like, that's
teen.
wrong.
I want to say somewhere
not
between
betting
the age
that.
of like 9 to 14 that his dad was not in fact his dad.
No, I'm not saying that's wrong.
So his problems come from his own problems of his experiences and his own trauma, whereas I think Stacy, her problems, and this is a pretty harsh thing to say, but they come from her own problems as a
yeah,
person,
you're right.
from her
That
personality.
did happen.
God,
I never said you were wrong.
Killing it today.
I love how he's using this as a moment to be right. I was just like, oh, was that this season? I just checked.
We even questioned if it was this show. But this is the second time on this podcast where I was right, and guess what? She's always right, so I'll take it. But let's just call it what it is. The wedding happens, and it doesn't happen.
Well,
because,
to no one's surprise, Izzy, of course, says yes.
And Stacy, in the most weird fashion,
Bitch.
turns him down.
Bitch.
Turns him down at the
Not a bitch for
altar,
saying no.
and then
The high horsey way.
yeah,
It's the audacity for me.
tries to like convince him
herself
it's
look
the right
good.
thing to do. He, being the emotional guy that he is, trying to reconcile the situation in real time in front of all their friends and family, not knowing how to react to the situation, accepts it, tries to be nice with it. They even have this weird kiss.
They kiss. It's the only time a couple has not gotten married,
Yeah.
but still like kiss at the altar.
Very uncomfortable.
Well,
Very
and then
uncomfortable.
she leaves.
And then once he gets away from the crowd and everybody,
The real feelings come
yeah,
out.
you
It's a
can
little
see
petty.
him like all the
Ego
wheels
shot.
are turning and
Yeah.
the truth is actually coming out, and it just good for him. Like he didn't stand up to her at the altar, but when they're outside, he started to challenge her more. He started to push on her more, and they essentially
I have
like
mixed feelings on that.
that's fine. You'll share, but they essentially split once they were outside, and he, in my opinion, did a much better job, not in front of the crowd, of saying his true feelings.
Sure,
But what do you think?
Well, I think to the camera, not to her. Afterwards, he was in a little interview and he was just saying, like, oh, she'll never be happy unless she's with a rich old man, blah, like, just really aired out a lot of his clearly under the surface feelings about her, which in the heat of the moment, you just got embarrassed in front of the closest people to you, got your heart stomped on. I see it a different way because I know some behind the scenes things. I heard on a podcast the night or a couple days before, she told him she was going to say no on the Vile Files. Shout out Nick. He literally told Nick that. And so Nick's like, oh, you knew she was going to say no. And he's like, yeah, he knew. So it's interesting. And he was just like, oh, I was kind of hoping maybe in the moment she'd change her mind. Like, come on, bro. You know, so he could have protected himself a little bit. But I like that he stayed true to himself and he was like, yeah.
Optimistic guy.
But afterwards, it seemed like they were, by her breakup speech, her phony ass shit, she made it seem like she wanted to date him after. So for him to then go over to the corner and say all this shit about her is kind of like, if you still really love her and want to make it work, like, why are you doing that? Because she's going to see it and then it's going to explode. But I think we should just get it right into the reunion.
Agreed.
We find out they didn't talk for like a week, which I get needing some space after that. I think that's bullshit. If you are in love with someone to the point where you are going to marry them, sight unseen at first, to not talk to them, even text for a week, is insane. Ladies, you know how it goes. If you like a guy, to not talk to him for a fucking day seems like agony sometimes. A week is nuts. But then they hang out, and essentially she tells him she's not feeling it. I don't know what Stacey was after on this show, but she knew there wasn't going to be a rich old man on it.
Building
Clout
her
chaser.
brand.
Cloud chaser, Pilates
Chaser,
maker. Yeah,
no one
I'm.
likes it, Stacy.
And I don't think
Stacy's evil. You know, she's not a bad person for wanting what she wants, but to hurt people
She's
in
not
the
a great person
process,
for it either.
she knew she was never marrying this man the second they met on that honeymoon and shit. Let's be real. She knew she wasn't going to marry him. I just think she strung him along a bit, and for that, I say justice for Izzy. Again, he is not a perfect person, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that she consciously did this, and I don't want to assume, but he was a
She did.
very emotionally vulnerable individual who could be very easily taken advantage of because of his
Yeah.
own doubts about
he's
himself,
like that
his
dude who just
self-worth,
believes in love,
his
you know, like a
connection, his
rom-com.
family. I mean, he's the guy that's desperately seeking out something. And so whether she realized it or not,
I think she liked him in the pods. Like, I think she was like, wow,
I
I
don't
really
think
like
she
this guy. Let's
disliked
see how
him.
it goes.
I don't- yeah, I agree.
I think that was sincere.
Um,
I think she was surprised to have a connection in the pot. I think she came on the show for nefarious reasons. 90% of this cast probably does. Let's
Most
be
do.
real. I think she was pleasantly surprised to have a real connection. I think she meant all of that. I think she was down to get engaged, go on the ride, see what happens. But I think very early into actually living a day-to-day life, being together all the time, she realized and knew this wasn't going to be it.
I think what
But wanted to ride out the rest for the
I think
full
what
clout.
frustrates me the most about her, and this was present in the reunion,
Yeah.
was how she interacted with Johnny at the reunion even,
Yeah.
where it's like we're all able to see how she behaved, how she was pretty unjust and aggressive and rude and all these things, and she wasn't self-aware or like sorry in any regard.
No,
I mean, when
she
we were
thinks
there,
she's the victim for sure.
yeah, she didn't apologize at all.
And there's no victim and there's no person, sorry, that's wrong. Both of these women were catty as fuck. They're in a hostile environment going
true.
for the same man. It's not just a dating show. They're getting fucking engaged and possibly married at the end of this. These people are looking for a life partner, supposedly. They both took low blows. They both
100%.
said things. There's a lot of things that I've heard
We all
that,
would. We're
that
human.
Johnny said about Stacy that were not nice, like that didn't get on camera, but vice versa. But I think I don't know. For some reason, I don't know if she's just good on camera. Johnny seems a little sincere to me. Like seeing her, I think she's got a lot of toxic energy because she has been through a lot. We heard about her exes, her whole situation, but she's a lawyer. She's logical. It's interesting. She's an interesting character.
She's got flavors of Uche in terms of when
Yes,
you are
yeah.
such a
It's the lawyer.
I said so that
Yeah.
they're both lawyers, right? When you are a really, really strong communicator and understand how to like be in these situations where you can take control of things with nothing but your voice and you
Master
understand.
manipulator.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
so you can see that. So what was probably the almost I don't want to say the funniest because it's kind of harsh, but one of the biggest surprises that was kind of funny was
Are you going Chris and Johnny?
yeah.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Yeah.
Chris.
I mean,
Chris.
we're all sitting here being like,
Fuck
Chris is
boy.
this angel.
This sweet little
Angelic
baby.
Chris, he's so nice.
Fraud.
He cares so much.
Fraud. You played us.
Yeah. Within a week of them being officially dating, he goes out somewhere and like falls in love with some new girl he
It
meets.
wasn't within a week of them dating. They had just celebrated her birthday. It was just all that barbecue shit that we actually saw because that was around her birthday. Had like a great birthday with him. He then goes somewhere, like
On trip?
fucking ghosts her on a vacation. Yeah. Meets somebody on the vacation, like hooks up with them, starts actively dating this person from then on, and just ghosts his fucking girlfriend who they're saying, I love you.
Was wild.
Literally, and just like wasn't going to tell her. And I will say this might have been, I can't believe I'm saying this, Vanessa's best reunion
Yeah.
because she was the only one who was like, let's run that back. I'm sorry. Did you say you started dating someone while you were actively dating someone else and just weren't going to say anything? And he's like, yeah. It's like, and I will just say, remind us all, the intro package, Chris said something like, oh, everyone looks at me like I'm just a fuck boy, blah, blah, blah. And we were all like, oh, Chris,
Ding,
you
ding, ding.
wish, pussy. Like, you wish you were a fuck boy. We're like, he's that loser coming on here like, yeah, I'm a player. And we're like, boy, please. he was, and he warned us all.
Wow.
And we all fell for his quiet, soft demeanor. Fraud.
Yeah, that was a big surprise.
But they seem like they're okay now. They were like chit-chatting the whole time, teaming up against Stacy, and honestly, love to see it.
Yeah.
That just shows more maturity on Johnny's side as well, that she's able to reconcile all of that and still be cool with him. She's mature.
I want to say
Sometimes.
probably the weakest reunion of any series.
I think when I say Vanessa and Nick, handled it well, I mean they stayed back and let other things unfold instead of just sharing their clearly biased opinions. She could have gone harder at some of the drama.
Well, and realistically, there wasn't a lot to go after because there was so few people at the reunion. There was two couples.
A lot of irrelevant
Uche
shit.
didn't show up, so they could do nothing with that.
Yeah, that
and there was no drama to poke at. I mean, it was the season started at a 9 and it finished at a 4.
3. Yeah.
There we go. Well, we were pretty close with each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty rough stuff. I mean, overall, Love is Blind. Love the show. Good times had. Curious to
I was
see.
just going to say, we have to quickly talk about the JP and Taylor. Let's just say Taylor looked like a golden goddess. JP, God, I hope he saw her looking so good and was like, I'm a fucking idiot.
No.
And he doesn't think that. He's already
No.
moved on, has a girlfriend of a year or so. He said, hope this girlfriend wears no makeup and is fugly as fuck. That's all I got to say.
She's probably just really, really small and petite because he's a small
quiet
man
and pussy.
he probably didn't feel confident enough in himself to date a
boss-ass bitch.
sure.
Queen.
I mean,
Justice for Taylor.
yeah,
Queen.
but no offense.
She should go on another season.
Taylor's beautiful, but she's not a boss ass bitch.
Well, we didn't
in
really
terms
get
of
to
like,
see much.
I know, but I'm not saying it's not like he was intimidated by that version of her. I think he candidly was too self-conscious in himself as a man to be able to handle
it was
a
internal.
woman that's not half his size.
Oh, it was his shit for
That's
sure.
all it is. I know plenty of guys out there that are too intimidated by equals and they need some person that's physically
To shit
much
on.
smaller than
Yeah.
well, just make literally physically.
Yeah.
His new girlfriend's probably tiny. I don't know. I'm making assumptions. I could be totally wrong, but he is not the kind of short king to go after a
She's
tall queen.
ugly. But anyways, also we have to touch on Aaliyah quickly. I know we said Uche was MIA. He had a prior work commitment. Pussy. Fucking pussy. Like he was like in Mexico or Jamaica, like at an all-inclusive resort at a work commitment with like fire dancers and shit. Bro, I think they would have understood. You're scared as fuck. You act like this boss-ass man who's got it all together. Point blank period. We all go back to our childhood selves. You were scared. We all know it. You knew you would have got reamed. And honestly, it makes you look worse, so not mad at it. But I do just want to touch quickly on the Aaliyah-Lydia relationship. Seems to be no more. It's understandable. I think watching it back probably gave Aaliyah even more of a sour taste in a pit. Not saying Lydia handled that well at all, but I think in the same vein, Lydia is happy with her outcome and they just let bygones be bygones. Aren't meant to be friends. I loved when Milton was like, yeah, I'm just going to stop you for a second. Talk about my wife's character. She probably is better than me. I've been with this woman for almost 2 years now. I've seen her day to day. This woman is better than I could ever be. I just love, no matter what happens, Lydia was obviously in the wrong a little bit in that whole debacle, but Milton doesn't give a fuck. He rides hard for his woman, and that's what a husband and wife should do. Behind the scenes, we've seen him be like, Lydia, you know, I would have handled it differently. You're a little overly emotional and explosive sometimes, a little irrational maybe. But what matters is when you are in public, you have your fucking spouse's back. And Milton is fantastic at that. God, Milton is just a king. Like, what a good quality dude. Again, really hope to see that relationship last. Unexpected, but wow, what a pleasant surprise.
King, yeah.
All right.
Let's move
There's
on.
so much we could say about that. Let's rate it out of 5. Season 5 of Love is Blind.
It's a
3.
3.
What'd you say?
It's a 3.
Okay. Solid.
Yeah, it's all right.
Little meh. a little above halfway. Honestly, Milton
it's the
carried
equivalent of when you like were
Milton
young
carried
and
the
you're
full
really
season.
drunk and you like did something that night or met someone that night. You're like, oh, this is amazing, and there's all this hype. And the next day you sober up and you're like, oh, never mind.
That was weird.
I was wrong. Huh? That's not as good as I thought it was.
Come to, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that was a shit show. Yes, but
Let's move on.
entertaining nonetheless. Love to see it. Can't wait for the next season. Stay tuned.
Rolling on down the river.
Golden Bachelor time. Just need
in
to
the
say,
deep.
oh dear. Just need to say, Gary Turner,
King.
I don't know where ABC found this man, but he almost seems like a robot. He is so fucking good. Honestly, without a doubt, the best lead of any Bachelor kind of show we've ever had. Young, old, I don't give a fuck. He's the best Bachelor of all time. This man, this whole season is just reviving the entire franchise. If they don't continue and do a Golden Bachelorette, which they 1,000% already are, I guarantee it, huge missed opportunity. Seeing these real life, grown ass, mature, been through some shit people fight for love is so refreshing. It is so real, so raw. The stakes are so different. Seeing a 20-something girl not get a rose and cry, she'll be just fine. Seeing a 7-year-old woman who thinks this is her last chance at love not getting a rose, it hits so different. It is incredible. Incredible. 5 out of 5 so far. Just got to say that. Had to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Gold. Literally.
there's a lot of really awesome stuff to take away. I mean, I think what's really cool to your point about, 20-year-old not getting a rose versus 70-year-old not getting a rose, there's a much different reaction to it long term in terms of self-worth, with a 20-year-old really questions their self-worth, but the 70-year-old, they go, wow, I can still find love.
Yeah,
Which, like, on
absolutely.
the other Bachelor, these things don't work out, and these people,
what's
like,
wrong with me?
yeah,
Why
they
don't
start to, like,
love
give up
me?
a
Why
little
wasn't I
bit.
good enough.
And on the Golden Bachelor, I mean, these women still do that. Like, don't be mean. But the point is, these women are now, instead being like, oh, shit, I can find a guy still.
Hopeful. Yeah.
Some of these women haven't been in a relationship or probably even with a man, in decades, who knows? And now they're just realizing, oh, shit, I can actually still find love. Like, is Gary an absolute gem? Of course he is. But are there other gems out there? Yes. And I think that's what they're realizing, because they look around the room, they see, wow, there's 20 female gems at this age. That means there's other Garys out there too.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really cool moment
gives
of
hope and
awakening.
like revives them. Like, your life
Exactly.
isn't fucking over,
Exactly.
ladies. Get it?
Oh,
They're like,
yeah.
oh, we still got it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
life is,
They're like, I
think
can
a
still
lot
do
of
something
people-
here.
I think a lot of people accept at that age, whether they're a widow or just been out of luck with love, that they're just like, well, this is it for me. I'm going to ride out into the sunset alone with my kids, my dog, whatever. But it gave people hope. And, I mean, I could get emotional talking about it. We've cried every episode at least once. It's incredible. But even, like, the goofy, fun, like, filler parts are incredible. I just have to touch on this last episode. When they played Never Have I Ever with ice cream, it was like out of a rom-com. It was so funny, so genuine, so real. All of them eating and just being laughing and being shocked at the things each other has done. Susan, like, saying yes to everything. And I almost called her Karen because she's been acting like one. Kathy was like, I'm going to need another pint of ice cream for Susan. Like, it was just incredible. Also, hot take, Sandra ate the ice cream and in an ITM said something about being lactose intolerant. She got sick and didn't come to the rose ceremony. Was it intentional so that she could just rest all night and chill and not stand there for hours for the rose ceremony? Maybe.
Does she
And
already have
honestly,
her rose?
Yeah.
Oh,
she got the group date rose. Remember the pickleball rose, because she was missing her daughter's wedding and all that.
Yeah,
so he
yeah.
wanted to be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't come
That's
either.
the thing. The group date rose. He's not giving a
Gary.
group date rose to his number one connection. He's giving it to the woman who, like, needs a win that day. And that's
The dude is such a gem.
it's so funny.
Well, it's such a good
Kathy's like,
example.
I'm upset. He's like, take this rest.
He's showing you there's a lot of amazing things to this show, but I
Layers.
think one of the big things is they're showing you is like what love is supposed to look like, right? Like there's one of the episodes where he takes, one of the gals that we're not the biggest fan of per se on a date, and
Which girl?
she's holding his arm in the car. I think it's
I like Teresa. Justice for fucking Teresa.
okay, it's fine. Anywho,
Kathy is villainizing her, and I don't like it.
I mean she's good. She's not my favorite,
Sorry,
but it's
she's
fine.
excited and happy. Sue her.
I'm not fighting that. All that I'm saying is, if you'll stop derailing my point, is that they're driving the car and Gary's scared because the Bachelor is putting him in dangerous situations where he's driving like
Jesus Christ.
a 40-year-old car and the headlights aren't working and he's
stressful.
driving on highways he's never been on before and he's got
LA.
probably cataracts, so like really dangerous situation. But she just turns over and puts her arm on his shoulder and immediately he's just like, that's what I needed. I felt that sense of safety, right? And for him, he's not talking about looking at her. He's not talking about the things that she's doing from a physical standpoint with like,
knowing she's there.
yeah, it's just that, wow, there's this person next to me that's making me feel comforted. And that's what relationships are. 90% of our life is sitting next to each other, just comforting each other, right?
Yeah.
You're not just looking at your partner all the time. Like a lot of it is just, can I be in a space with this person next to me and their presence calms me and makes things better and easier. And it's so beautifully wholesome to show like this is what we're supposed to be looking for in love. It's not supposed to be
It's easy. It's simple.
who gets me the most excited when I look at them, right? Like, and sure, you want someone to walk down the stairs in a ballroom ground.
Take
and
your breath away.
Exactly. Your jaw drops, all that kind of stuff. But the reality is 90% of relationship isn't
could you
sitting
be
there
with in the
looking at
small
your partner.
moments?
It's
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
You're sitting next to them. You're not looking at them, but you're hearing them. You're feeling them, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I just want to touch on that. That's a great point. The feeling of just like someone who has your back. Like we said, a lot of these people have been single for like decades, being a parent figure, most of them,
Yep.
and being that person that has to be there and take care of everyone and put out all these fires. They need someone to be there for them. At the end of the day, no matter what your age is, you want to be taken care of and cared for. And that's something that these people have been missing for a long ass time in their lives. So just to feel someone who's like, I've got you, figuratively, literally, all that jazz, means so much. And that's why this show is just so much better than the OG format, because this is like high, real stakes and people who know who they are and what they want and need. And it's just so refreshing. Not to say we hate the young juice and the gossip and the cattiness. That's obviously super fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the first kind of franchise of this show that it's not about the drama, and we don't even need it. I mean, there's been a little drama with, Kathy. She's out. May she R.I.P. in the show. Not really. Wish the best for Kathy. She was honestly super entertaining, but the only drama we've really had is her getting a little jealous that Teresa won't shut the fuck up about her connection with Gary because she's giddy and excited, like a little schoolgirl. But
I think it's...
and even that, we're like, get back to the wholesomeness,
Well, it's a beautiful thing because a lot of what I've tried to focus on and talk to people about in relationships in the past, couple of years has really been own your weirdness and show confidence in your vulnerability. And I think there's two ends of the spectrum, right? You've got the Clayton season where he wasn't even comfortable, or not Clayton,
Colton.
Thank you. Colton, where he wasn't
clearly didn't
comfortable
know who he was and was
coming
not being
out
true to
with
himself.
his attraction towards men until after the season. So the entire season is a wash of him trying to think, who do I need to be to make my
be who I
family
think I
happy,
should
to
be.
make the world
Yeah.
like me, to create this sense of happiness. On the very other end is Gary, who's just like, I'm just a goofy, weird guy. And like, he's saying goofy stuff all the time. He's honestly, and granted, he's a really good looking guy for his age, so it helps a lot. It makes it easier. But yeah, he doesn't shy away from anything about himself at all. I mean, he's literally just like, this is me completely, entirely on the table. And what's really cool about people as they age is they start to find this confidence and sort of not caring about what people think
Well,
of
they're
who
like,
they are.
I am who I am. I don't give a fuck anymore, and I'm going to be who I am.
Now, I don't think Gary's ever said those words because Gary probably doesn't swear almost ever.
He has like a jar
Similar
in
to
his
your
house
dad, Gary.
that he
It's
puts
very
coins
interesting.
in. Yeah, my dad's name is Gary. Just need to shout out that I love a fellow Gary, and honestly, they're kind of similar.
Yeah, both gems.
Yeah, my
but
dad's
it
a
is.
king.
It's just really cool because it's rare, I think, on television, especially reality television, especially reality dating television, for men to be able to showcase to the whole world, I'm confident in these areas,
This
but
is
I'm
who
also
I am.
like
Take it
I'm
or
also
leave it.
imperfect, right?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be me all the time, and everything's gonna be great. And Gary shows that, and he doesn't care. And I think there's a lot of really cool lessons to pull out of this. And I think if there's any young men out there that are able to look at this and even just take 1 or 2 points to bring into their own life in terms of how they can be more comfortable being themselves, because when you look at how Gary's operating this season, he's not going after the youngest of the women. He's not going after the most
sent a lot of them
attractive of all
home.
the women.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he really is.
Attractions differentiates between people, but I hear
He's
you.
looking for
Connection.
personality, emotional attraction.
Yeah.
He's not just looking for physical. Now, granted, right? They're all 10 to 20 years away from just being decrepit. So it's
Wow.
not
Brent.
like, 90 is pretty tough. But
Well, he had a wife his whole life and has kids and grandkids. So he's had this lifelong
He knows
bond and
what matters.
connection. And now that he's older, he just wants somebody to enjoy the rest of his life with and ride out into the sunset with. It's just that simple. And he's like, I know who I am. I've been through all the bullshit. You all know who you are. And I see that and love that. And let's do the damn thing. Like,
That's great.
it is just a whole nother level, because again, they've all been through life's bullshit and they just know what they want and what they need. And it's just like seems so effortless.
it's a great show. I highly suggest it.
But yes, a couple notable things. Susan, queen, she's obviously not lasting very long. I don't think they have a romantic connection, but I think he sees what a great person she is. He is time and time again said that she is the one who reminds him of his ex-wife, or I'm sorry, his wife that passed away, Toni. He gave her a rose quartz at this last cocktail hour before the rose ceremony. And it was just like the sweetest fucking moment. And I just want to say, again, Kathy is gone. Kathy, who had such a problem with Teresa venting or sharing anything. This was an interesting moment. Susan comes back after her little interaction with Gary with the box. Kathy right away is like, what's in the box? And asks all these fucking questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Teresa can't share about her time with Gary, but Susan can? I didn't like that. And the only reason it's different is because she knows that Teresa's a threat. Because Teresa and Gary have a big connection. Teresa's obviously riding out top 3, I would say. She had the first date as well. So she had anybody who gets the first one-on-one in any of these seasons usually has a huge leg up because they've spent the most time with that person.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
good stuff.
so remaining ladies, let's just narrow it down. The remaining ladies are Teresa, again, kind of a front runner for a minute there. First date. The drama has deterred that a bit, maybe, but she's still hanging strong. She keeps getting the last rose, and I genuinely think that's producers making Gary do that because
Probably.
I think he really likes her
They pay
and
him.
doesn't like to keep doing that to her, but it's for the drams. We also have Leslie, sexy dancer. Leslie, going far too. She's had a little drama here and there, but nothing crazy. I mean, with the tie-dye costume and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but she's pretty entertaining. She's got a cool vibe. She's a woman who's been had a couple divorces, she said, and really hasn't found that person ever. So that's a sweet vibe they've got going on. Faith, she was the first impression rose, I believe. We haven't seen a lot from her, but I still feel like she's going to be around for a bit.
Yeah.
They had a really early on connection that hasn't really done anything, but she's probably going to get a one-on-one any day now, and hopefully that revamps because she seems like a nice lady. Ellen, pickleball queen, won the pickleball date. That date, best group date I've ever seen in my life. Don't want to get too into it, but creme de la creme, chef's kiss. Now she gets to be in Pickleball Magazine. So happy she won that because she is the pickleball co-captain. She has already told Gary that she's falling in love with him. He seems super excited. I think he essentially said he feels the same way. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
She's going far, if not all the way, I think.
She's not
Susan, Kris Jenner. I fucking love this woman. Do I think she's got a connection with Gary? No. I think she knows it too. But wow, she's great TV queen. And then we have Sandra. Sandra, multiple master's degree, swearing up a storm, fucking diving for the ball in pickleball, queen. But I would say Sandra and Susan, unfortunately, are the last two of the kind of outsiders that don't really stand a chance. I think top four is obviously Teresa, Leslie, Faith, and Ellen.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're going to probably find is it's going to be the top three are going to end up being Teresa, Leslie, and Ellen.
Ooh,
And-
interesting. I disagree.
And I think what we're going to end up
I
seeing
don't know.
is, I forget how many people get suites at the end, overnights. Is it two
It's
or three?
different every season. I think after this week,
I think Ellen and
His
Teresa.
families.
Ellen and Teresa are the two that he's going to really have to choose between.
Yeah,
and
I
I'm,
think so,
I'm
too.
going Ellen, and the reason I am is because Gary is an absolute goofball. Ellen is
well,
an
he kept saying
absolute
he really
goofball.
loves her personality.
What he needs from her is that sexual connection, and I think it's been building and growing
I think
recently.
they're kind of friends.
And so I think he's going to end up leaning towards Ellen ultimately, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a Teresa Ellen battle at the end. I think
Okay.
that's just what I think.
So I think similarly. It's so hard to say who top three is because, like, maybe Faith, like you said, is going to get the boot as the fourth person. Or Leslie. It's hard to see because I think Leslie on paper seems like a winner. Like, she might be the next Golden Bachelorette. Or I'm calling it, a lot of people are saying this, that woman who self-eliminated, Joan,
Yeah.
that blonde bombshell woman, she might be the next Golden Bachelorette, and they might throw like a mix of some younger dudes in there for her because she's a fucking tiger. We'll
Interesting.
see. Not that she wants that per se, but that would be interesting to see a little mix of that. But I'm going to say Teresa is going to win.
Okay.
She's my front runner. She's a little kooky. I really love Ellen. Right now, she's the number one for sure. I think that he like goes to sleep thinking about her, really likes her, but I don't see that romantic spark. I think it's friends. She's feeling it. I don't know if he is. Like, deep down, I think he might end up questioning that. Whereas I think like that love and that burning thing is more for Teresa. On paper, again, Leslie would be up there because she's just such a badass bitch. Like, she's awesome. But I'm like, I don't know if that's what he needs. You know, I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see the families because that's going to change the game for
I was
sure.
going
That's
to
the
say,
dynamics.
he's also going to look
Who
for
his daughter's like. Yeah.
1,000%.
They're
It's
gonna like
have a
Ellen.
Massive,
Yeah.
massive impact. And it's hard to say this, but he's going to look for as many similarities to his previous relationship
Yeah.
as possible because
The way he felt in that relationship
it's
is what he
just-
wants to feel again. Yeah.
if she hadn't passed, they would spend their life together forever,
Yeah.
right? Like nothing bad happened between them. So,
Hopefully.
I mean, what do we know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting. But those are predictions, you know.
Team Teresa.
There's going to be more to come. We'll talk some more, obviously, about old GB, the gold.
What would you rate the Golden Bachelor so far?
I'll give it a solid like 4.3, 4.4
I
out
was
of 5.
going to go like 4.5, 4.6. Yeah. 4 or 5
Yeah,
out of 5.
I mean, there's some people out there
good.
who aren't soft like we are, and they're just not going to be as much behind it,
People
which
want
is okay.
juice and drama, so
Be
they
you.
might be like bored, but
Yeah.
we want lurf, baby.
It's a great late night, especially like a bedtime TV show when you need just a
relaxing.
little bit of like wholesomeness leading you into sleep so you have good
Although I
dreams
always
instead of weird
cry,
nightmares.
and then I'm puffy and cry and can't go to sleep. But
It's
to
not like
each
you're
their own.
bawling. You've shed some tears, but you're not like bawling at this show. She's over exaggerating.
That's so interesting because I'm the biggest crybaby in the world, and I like cry at every episode. But what did I laugh so hard at last night that I was dying crying?
I have no idea.
Really wish I knew.
Yeah.
But-
All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah. So those are our predictions. We will be continuing to recap Golden Bachelor because it is just too damn good not to. Obviously, Bachelor in Paradise is that elephant in the room. We are watching it. Honestly, don't think it's worth talking about.
Yeah,
It is
we
what
might.
it is.
Maybe
It
we'll highlight a
seems
few
so
things. but-
irrelevant with Golden Bachelor happening. Like
But-
Golden Bachelor ends and then we have to watch that shit. It just doesn't hit the same. ABC doing themselves a disservice putting them back to back, I think. If they were 2 separate nights, people would say different things. But
Stay tuned though, because next time we talk, there's probably going to be a few other things to talk about. Not just Golden, but
you're so
there's a lot of good stuff out there right now. So, and if there's ever anything you want us to talk about, any shows out there that you're watching that you're like, hey, Ives, y'all are missing out, let us know. Shout in the
You
comments.
guys want us to talk about
What's the
Loki
message?
on Disney Plus?
Man. Or
We're
Gen
not going
V.
down that. We're not going down
Gen
that road.
V, the boys
We're not
spinoff.
going down that road. We're moving on. So yes, those are our predictions. Stay tuned for more Golden Bachelor goodness. We love you guys. We'll
Yeah.
be back. Sorry for that 2-week hiatus. It's a busy year.
We appreciate y'all. Thanks as always for tuning in. Until next time,
Bear down.
take care, everybody. See ya.